Hollywood, Florida, outside a packed casino, the rapper Offset was shot. We have video claiming to show the moments before and the chaos right after. What happens in between? That's still missing. And the one suspect who was charged only hit with a misdemeanor? So if he didn't pull the trigger, who did? And why are investigators still looking for more people? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hollywood, Florida. It's about 20 minutes north of Miami. Late at night outside the Seminole Hard Rock Casino. I've been there before. It's a great property. The valet area is packed, cars pulling in, lights everywhere, people moving in and out. It's what you expect for a property like that. And in the middle of all that, the rapper Offset is reportedly shot. He's expected to survive. That's the good news. But he was shot. And the details of what led up to that moment, very, very strange, very, very confusing. There's video right now that's circulating from this Instagram account. It's called Only in Dade. And I want to be very clear here. This account claims these clips capture some of the critical moments, but police have not confirmed their authenticity, okay? So just think about it as we talk about it. Now, here you can see who appears to be Offset standing in the hotel area. Unsure exactly what part of the hotel. Nothing looks out of the ordinary. He's just appears to be standing there. No obvious tension. No clear sign of what's about to happen. But then you have this other video taken moments later. Chaos. Someone is on the ground. Another person's being pulled away. The police lights flood the entire scene. So the question becomes, what happened in between those moments? Because that gap, that's where this story really begins. Now, police did make an arrest, okay? The rapper, Lil Tjay, was taken into custody, booked into the Broward County Jail. But this is the part that doesn't maybe add up for you. You might say, oh my gosh, he was arrested. He's probably involved in the shooting, right? No. He was charged right now with disorderly conduct. That's a misdemeanor. So essentially, he seems to be accused of being involved in an altercation, maybe a fight that happened before the shooting. So again, not attempted murder, not a weapons charge. If he wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, then who did? And there's another layer, and this is kind of hard to ignore. Offset's cousin, Takeoff, was shot and killed in 2022 in Houston. And since then, the rapper Quavo has been publicly pushing for solutions to gun violence, even sitting down with Kamala Harris to talk about preventing situations exactly like this. So when Offset is shot just a few years later, it naturally raises a lot of questions. We're not saying they're connected in any way, but how do we not talk about both? And I'm going to bring in retired NYPD Detective David Sarni in just a moment to break all this down, what investigators may be looking for here. But here's why this case may actually be a lot more complicated than it first appears. So Monday night, April 6th, around 7 p.m., outside the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida, here's what police said initially. And this is a statement that we received from Gary Bittner. He's the public information officer for Seminole PD. Quote, we are aware of an incident that occurred at a valet area after 7 p.m. Monday outside of Seminole Hard Rock, Hollywood, that resulted in non-life-threatening injuries to an individual who was transported to Memorial Regional Hospital in Hollywood. Seminole police were on site immediately and the situation was contained quickly. 2 individuals have been detained by police. The investigation is ongoing. The site is secure and there is no threat to the public. Operations continue as normal. So that was their original statement. 2 people detained, 1 person injured, and then the next day they updated it. We received this. 1 person has been charged in connection with the incident. Tion Jaden Merritt has been charged with disorderly conduct, a first-degree misdemeanor under Florida Statute 870.01. The incident began with an affray or fight. Merritt was booked into the Broward County Jail late last night. A second person detained at the scene has not been charged. The investigation to identify 1 or more additional persons involved in the incident is ongoing. The injured individual remains at Memorial Regional Hospital in Hollywood with a non-life-threatening injury. So Merritt, the rapper Lil Tjay, was booked into jail, seemingly not for shooting anybody, but for allegedly a fight. And this second person that was detained, this person was never charged. We don't have the identity of this person. But according to inmate records, Merritt was being held on $500 bond for the disorderly conduct charge, plus another $2,500 bond for a separate traffic violation, seemingly driving without a license. The record shows he has since bonded out on those offenses. But let's go back to Offset. Real name, Kiari Kendrell Cephas, was reportedly shot outside the casino As I mentioned before, he was once married to the singer Cardi B. Two share 3 kids together. She filed for divorce from Offset back in 2024. But actually, if you go back to Merritt, Lil Tjay, his attorney, Dawn Florio, put out a statement to her Instagram account saying Lil Tjay has not been shot, nor has Lil Tjay been charged with any shooting. Any reporting to the contrary is false. We encourage people to consult trusted news sources and to verify the accuracy of any reporting before reflexively sharing or repeating baseless rumors. So his lawyer is saying flat out he didn't do it. He's not part of this. And the charges seemingly at this point back that up. If police thought that he pulled the trigger, he wouldn't have been sitting on a $500 bond for disorderly conduct, right? So that leaves the obvious question, if Lil Tjay was charged with fighting, not the shooting, then who actually shot Offset? So police say their investigation to identify one or more additional persons is ongoing. They're still looking for somebody. Now, before I bring in Detective Sarni, I want to give you some context on Offset, because this isn't the first time that he's been involved in the middle of a chaotic, high-profile situation. He is 1/3 of Migos, so this is the hip-hop trio that basically changed the sound of rap in the 2010s. Versace, Bad and Bougie, Motorsport, just some of the highlights. But here's where his personal life gets just as loud as his music. When Offset married Cardi B, remember when I said that they got married, they share 3 kids together, she filed for divorce from Offset back in 2024, but the two had actually secretly got married. They wed secretly in Atlanta back in September of 2017, and then they announced their engagement a month later. A little backwards, but that's how they did it. And look, their relationship reportedly has been a lot. So she originally, apparently, filed for divorce once in 2020, called it off, files again in July 2024, and this time it got ugly. I mean, we covered this on a previous episode of Sidebar, so I'll just give you the highlights here, but Cardi B has made serious allegations against Offset, accusing him of stalking her, harassing her, even seemingly threatening to kill her. Now, Offset never really officially, publicly responded to any of that. His rep kind of stayed quiet. But when you hear that Offset was shot outside a casino, part of why this story explodes is because of everything else that has happened in his life. His notoriety, how he's been involved in a lot of public attention. His name already carries a lot of the weight. It carries a lot of drama, the headlines, the Cardi B connection. And to be clear, I'm not saying that any of that is connected to his shooting, but you just have to understand his life in that context. And there's even another layer here that's heavier. I just got to go back to Offset's cousin, Takeoff. He was also a member of Migos, a massive star. November 2022, Takeoff was shot and killed outside a bowling alley in Houston. He was 28 years old, and that case is still working its way through the system. There's a man named Patrick Clark. He's been charged, maintains his innocence. His trial is scheduled for November of this year. And since Takeoff's death, the 3rd member of Migos, Quavo, has been on a mission. He started the Rocket Foundation in Takeoff's honor. He's committed millions to gun violence intervention. And on what would have been Takeoff's 30th birthday, Quavo held a summit in Atlanta, and he sat down with Vice President Kamala Harris to talk about preventing shootings exactly like the one that killed his nephew. So when Offset gets shot years later at a casino late at night, you have this chaos. You can understand, A, how upsetting this is, how unfortunate this is, and you can also understand why people's minds go to certain places. Again, I'm not saying any of this is connected, but you have to put everything into context, and I want to talk about it. All right, I want to bring in retired NYPD Detective Dave Sarni to talk about this. Dave, good to see you. Thanks for taking the time. You and I were just talking. We both have been to this property before. You know, this is a very public area. When you've worked shootings, you've worked high-profile cases. I mean, the first thing that stood out to me, we were talking about it, is you have a major rapper who's shot outside a major casino, witnesses, cameras everywhere, and yet they detain 2 people. One doesn't get charged, at least at the time of this recording, and one is only charged with disorderly conduct. What does that tell you about this investigation?
Well, thank you for having me again. Depending on how quick the police respond to the scene, I know Seminole Police Department handles that. It's a tribal police agency. I don't know how security is working there. It is the valet area. It could be crowded, very crowded. There are a lot of questions that come into play because one of the rappers, Lil Tjay, is arrested for disorderly conduct. He's not necessarily arrested for the shooting. We know that you have Offset is shot. We don't know who shot him. We have to hopefully recover some shell casings. But what you have are video cameras everywhere in that facility. There's cameras everywhere. So I guarantee you the detectives that work in this case are going to backtrack from the moment that shooting happened backward and forward on that video. So that's one of the positives of being at that point where it happened.
If I'm understanding you correctly, it would be very hard to have this shooting happen and it not be captured by surveillance video in some capacity. But does it take time to go through that footage?
It will, because what you have, I always talk about a pre and post event. You have the event. Now you look at the post, which is after, and see what you have there, and look at the pre. So you're going to try to track everything that Offset and Lil Tjay was at that time. Because from my understanding that Lil Tjay and Offset aren't friends. So why they're there at the same time? That's something we'll have to look at as that investigation goes forward. They both have attorneys, so they both have to go through their lawyers. So you're going to have to work this investigation primarily through the forensic evidence and evidence such as video cameras, along with also any witness statement that you have there.
What about camera footage from cell phones nearby? You know, I mean, I've talked about at the beginning. There's this footage from this one account we can't verify. Police haven't verified it. But how do police go about looking for everybody's cell phone footage? Are they able to track down the people that were in the casino? Are they able to get their cell phone footage? Do they need a warrant to get that footage? Do they put out a public request? If you have footage of that, please send it to us. How does it work?
Well, there'll be a number of ways. One would be requesting video footage of what you have. Anyone who has video of that. What you're going to have probably is any video you're going to get is going to get sent over to social media. TMZ being one of them, is going to probably get the video before the police do. If you have people detained or in custody, you're going to have to obtain their phones and to obtain any videos from that, you'll need search warrants. Unless they give consent, that phone is still their property, and to seize any video evidence, we'll need a search warrant. But if you get people who are consenting to do it, that's one thing. I guarantee you also, they're going to be scouring the internet for anyone who's released that video to any social media form, be it X, Instagram, any of those that have come out, because those things are actually where people will send the videos, and especially TMZ, because there's financial contributions for that.
Do you think that it can be a bit complicated if we have a situation about Offset, and I don't believe anybody else has been shot at this time, but whether Offset or somebody Offset was with would have the ability to identify who maybe did this, or would they be willing to identify who maybe did this?
Here are the issues, and you always talk about this, especially with these type of instances. Most artists, we will say this, do not cooperate with the police. They're not reticent to go to the police and tell us what happened. So you're going to have to try to give evidence. You may have someone who's a cooperating witness, an eyewitness, be it an employee at the casino. That's one way of doing it. I don't know you're going to get any cooperation from either side. Sometimes, if Offset really wants to find the person that did it, he will cooperate. Obviously, we don't know we don't know the extent of injuries he had. He's not likely, which is good. We don't know if any other people were shot. We don't know how many shots were fired. That means you do a hospital canvas. You make notifications to the hospital. If anyone comes in with a gunshot wound, they're going to be notifying the police on that. But as far as cooperation, I have seen, unfortunately, many times where we deal with people who are non-cooperative, and you're going to have to work on the evidence that you have available.
And that, to be clear, that's not because someone's involved in a crime or committed a crime. That could be for other reasons. It could be, I mean, you tell me, or you say artists, you've seen that happen in the past. Is that because of reputation? Is that because of culture? Is that because of personal reasons, personal experiences? It doesn't mean that anyone's involved in anything. It's just that those are some of the reasons you might see that.
Yeah, that's why there's a number of factors that people won't cooperate, that don't want to be. It is a reputation thing. You want to keep your credibility. You don't want to talk to the police, because if you're cooperating with the police, that means your credibility gets lost. We've seen hip hop artists have done that, and on social media, they look toward them negatively. But when you're looking at these type of things, you want people to do what's right. And the reality is that person shot. Now, we don't know what party they were, who they were at this point. Was it an associate of Offset's crew? His friends were there, his entourage. Was it anyone Lil Tjay might have been involved in? We don't know. That's why we're going to try to get the identification. That's why, if you want to get the thing done, we want to get this shooting and the results done correctly, you want to get the cooperation of every participant, especially the victim.
And by the way, I don't know. Offset might be fully cooperating. We don't know, but I'm just trying to think about what might be happening behind the scenes, including ballistics. So talk to me about that. How do they recover? You talked about shell casings. If there is a bullet also that went into a victim, that went into Offset, are they able to recover it? Are they able to match it to a gun? Are they able to match this to suspects? What's the process there?
Well, now you have a crime scene, so we have to determine if it was a through and through, meaning did that round go through every body part we have. We don't even know where the injury took place. So to recover that, depending on how that billet looks at from the removal of from Offset's person, will it be something of value? No, maybe not. But what you're looking for is shell casing or shell casings. That's why the video is important. We also have witnesses. We haven't determined how many shots were fired. So that crime scene should be retained. And the thing about the firearm, did the person take the firearm with them, or did we used to call it a Brooklyn bounce in a sense, where the firearm was left at the scene and someone recovered it. That's why that video is very pertinent to find out how many shots were done if you don't have witnesses to tell you, and where the gun is or was at the time of the shooting. So there's a lot of things coming into this. It may get resolved quickly based on the video, but it may not be resolved quickly because you depend on the cooperation of the victim and everyone else around you, witnesses and the like.
Mm. And talk to me about Lil Tjay. I mean, again, reportedly arrested, disorderly conduct, relatively low bond. So it doesn't appear that police believe, and you heard the statement from his attorney, they don't believe in any way he is the trigger person or that he's involved in the shooting in any capacity, right?
Right. We don't know where he was at the time of the shooting. We know he was in the area. And the question comes into play then is why was in the area. I don't know if how their relationship is. I heard it was very acrimonious. There's an issue, I believe, I heard on social media. It's a financial thing. I think Lil Tjay gave him money.
We don't know. I mean, it's social media too. We can't verify what people say.
Absolutely. There's nothing we can verify on that. We don't know the relationship between the two, but we want to know is why were they there at the same time? If they have a friendly relationship, that would make sense. If they have an acrimonious relationship, how did one know the other was going to be there? These are all questions you're going to actually hopefully get answers to when you talk to them or their attorneys.
Because it's not, I mean, if you're talking about a fight and then you're talking about a shooting, or excuse me, an alleged fight and then an alleged shooting, there has to be, or there seems to be some sort of connective tissue, right?
Right. So that's why you look for the pre-incident, see what interactions that Offset had or anyone he was with prior to the shooting. Was there something that happened, or did it happen immediately at that scene? So that's what you're looking at. You're dealing with the valet area, so people are coming in and coming out. Could that have been a crossing of two individuals coming through that? Could it have been something that started inside and went outside, or did it happen everything outside? That's why that video is so pertinent to this investigation, to see where did it start? Was there an incident prior in the casino or not?
Let me go take a step back here. And I mentioned Offset's history. And I talked about Takeoff being shot and killed. I talked about, Quavo talking about holding these gun violence summits. When a shooting like this happens to someone who is so close to this other tragedy, are investigators even looking at that? Are they trying to make connections? Or are you saying that unless there's something that pops off, that is completely separate, we're not even bothering with that? How much do they look at someone's past and connections?
Well, we always look at the victimology, and sometimes the herpology in a sense. We want to get some sort of connection, some nexus between the victim and the subject or person perpetrator that was involved or engaged in. We don't know the involvement of the person who did the shooting. We don't know that. But Offset is well known. Obviously, he's been out there. He's going through divorce. Whatever's going on that end is social. Will we look at other things about Offset to see if there's anything connected to the shooting? That's where you're going to look for, hopefully, cell phone records, anything social media wise that somehow knew that these people were going to be there. Could it have been a member of Offset's people that were there that that fired the gun, or someone else? We won't know until. That's why that video is so important, because in chaotic situations, you don't always have witnesses, but the eye sees what the eye sees, and the camera sees what the camera sees, and the amount of cameras in that area, especially the valet area, that's something that's going to be used extensively to find out who the shooter was in this case.
What is the one thing that you're looking out for right now that the rest of us are just not paying attention to?
Well, I always look at because I look at the pre-incident. Like, why did it happen at that moment? I'm always thinking at that moment at around 7:00 p.m. Does that shooting take place? How does that happen? Why does it happen? Is it that, meeting of the planets in a sense, they all get together and this is where it happened, or did it start inside? Was there some incident going on inside that brought them there? So that's what we're looking for. So that's why I always look at the pre-incident, because opposed to looking for direction of flight, maybe the firearm, where it went, but when you talk about the pre is what happened? What was the victim doing prior to this shooting? What was the victim involved in prior to the shooting? That's how I look at it.
Do you think that this is going to be resolved relatively soon?
It should be resolved. The issue comes down to, and I can't ever put a timetable on this, because if you do, you try to bias your investigations. We try to get everything together. You want to get we call the totality of circumstances, all the evidence together. So this way, when you develop probable cause to make that arrest, then you have it. So it may take some time. Video surveillance takes some time to look at. You're going to have numerous investigators looking at that. You have extensive interviews to deal with. Any forensic evidence, meaning the ballistics you have from the firearm, if there's shell cases left at the scene, these are all things that will be taking some time to get done so you can resolve this shooting.
Dave Sarni, thanks for taking the time. I always appreciate your insight on this and what we should be thinking about, what we should be on the lookout for. We'll keep a careful eye on it, but thank you for taking the time, sir. Appreciate it.
And thank you very much, and stay safe.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can also check us out at NBC's Peacock as well. If you want to follow me, X, Instagram, my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you next time, everybody.